Welcome to the Prime Health Podcast with your host, Dr. Derek Barron. Dr. Barron interviews doctors, wellness experts, and healthcare leaders who are revolutionizing how we approach health and longevity. The Prime Health Podcast explores breakthrough science, personal and patient stories, and practical insights that are shaping the future of health and wellness. So sit back, listen in, and prepare to transform how you think about your path towards Prime Health with Dr. Barron and his special guest.
Welcome back to the Prime Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Derek Barron. I'm here to bring you cutting-edge insights and practical strategies from leading healthcare experts for your journey to Prime Health in life and in business. Now, here's a question I want you to think about for everyone watching and listening, but especially for the women out there. What if the reason your body isn't responding anymore? It's not because you don't or you need or lack discipline. Today's guest, Stacy Naugle of Executive Metabolism, works with successful women who've already mastered discipline, but need a completely different approach to feel powerful and confident in their performance. Now, dare I say, this is going to be another great episode. I'm excited to hear what Stacy has to say. Before we jump in, just a quick message from our sponsor, Grow Solutions, where we believe every healthcare professional deserves an exceptional growth partner to match their ambition and reach their potential. Now, Grow Solutions is not an agency or a vendor. We are your growth partner, and we take a diagnostic approach to your business, where we look to see if there's time, money, leads, or opportunities that might be leaking. We help eliminate stressors such as new patient or client acquisitions, marketing and growth strategies, reducing operational chaos that sometimes happens with proven systems, SOPs, and frameworks. And if you've ever thought this to yourself, I'm too busy to grow, too slow to scale, or too overwhelmed to fix it, we could be your growth solution. So if you want me to ask us any questions, feel free to drop some comments below or reach out to me on any social channel. I'd love to help you if I could. But you came here today to hear from another amazing guest. So Stacy, welcome to the Prime Health Podcast, and please do tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much, Derek. And thank you for all that you do to help bring new knowledge and experiences to your listeners and to support businesses. It's vital because so many of us have a big message, but we don't know how to get it out there. I'm excited to be here today. My name is Stacy Naugle, and I'm a clinician with over 30 years of experience in metabolic and lifestyle medicine. And I am the founder of Executive Metabolism. And this is a boutique metabolic performance advisory that's built specifically for women over 40. And what this means is that we work with high-achieving women, executives, founders, physicians, attorneys who are doing everything right, but still losing ground. Their energy is inconsistent, their clarity may not be what it was, and they might be passing up opportunities because they're no longer confident in their ability to perform in the way that they used to. And so they're quietly wondering if they're getting too old or they're cracking under the pressure of the work and lives that they have maintained successfully for years. And so the part that fires me up most about this is that it's not their fault. Their metabolism in midlife has shifted, and the tools that they've been given, the advice, the wellness tips, the generic protocols were not designed for their physiology, their age, or the neurological demands that elite leadership under chronic stress calls for. So together with my husband, Marcus, who holds a degree in molecular biology from MIT, we built the 5 Forces of Metabolic Capacity framework, which is a precision diagnostic model that helps us identify which systems have shifted by how much and what to start restoring first to bring their performance back up. So we're not chasing symptoms, we are addressing systems. So this is what metabolic executive metabolism does, and it is really the culmination of over 30 years of education and clinical work.
Yeah. Well, it sounds exciting. It sounds that many people should hear about this, and I'm glad that you and your husband have kind of partnered together to help your niche that you go after. So I appreciate you doing this. And again, I can't wait to learn more. But I always ask this at the start of the podcast. Was there a moment in life or did something, it was an aha moment that said, I need to choose a career in the medical field?
Well, you're asking me to think back a very long time, almost 40 years. And I have always been interested in health and high performance. I was blessed with a strong body and mind, and I love feeling amazing. And so even as a teenager, I was looking for ways like, how can I feel more amazing? How can I be better at the athletics that I'm doing? How can I get better grades or do something extra or master an aspect of knowledge? And so I was just born that kind of person. But when it comes to executive metabolism, it was different. It was really my own peer group. You know, I'm 55, and so many of my peer group and my high school friends were all commenting about, oh my gosh, I've started noticing changes. What's going on? It's driving me crazy. And so that is what turned us into this particular target group. They're underserved by science, not represented well in corporate wellness. And so our mission really is to bring that conversation forward so that women who fall between the 40 and 60-year-old age range are not falling through a gap. And so that aha was really going, wow, women are feeling ashamed. They're losing their confidence. They think that if they just tried harder, they could do it. And they beat themselves up for not being able to try hard enough to overcome this. And so that really is what got us fired up to go, women shouldn't feel like this. They're capable. Their physiology shifted, not their capacity or their behavior.
Yeah, I unfortunately love that, meaning it's unfortunate women are having those struggles, but it's fantastic that you have a system, where you're, as you said, a system to help avoid the symptoms that are there to improve that. So why is it that you think that so many women between that 40 and 60 mark, they suddenly feel like what happened? It was an overnight change in their body, whether it's physical appearance or how their metabolism has worked. And even though they haven't changed the habits that they've been in since their 20s or 30s or 40s, what do you think causes that?
We physiologically change. And by the time that we're in our 40s, if we've built a career, we know how to work hard. We know how to organize. Hopefully we've got some good life work balance. You know, it's really at a prime time. But for women, our bodies change. And what most women talk about is their energy becomes less stable. They start to have afternoon crashes, or some days they wake up energized, some days they don't, and they just can't rely on it. And the other thing that they talk about the most is that their cognition has changed. Maybe by early afternoon, they're feeling decision fatigue, where they used to be, crack on all the way through the evening. Or brain fog, which is the worst when they're talking in front of people, they can't quite remember words. They get less comfortable doing presentations at work and speaking up. And it is due to physiology. It is due to 5 specific systems that affect our physiology. It's measurable. It's not some great mystery. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It is a physiological response that women begin to go through when we get into those menopausal years. And it's really difficult for a lot of them to bring this up at work because it can be seen as a weakness, and people don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to bring these things up and say, I'm struggling with something. And so we want to provide those solutions because it's physiological, not behavioral, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. There are practical solutions.
Yeah. And in the corporate world specifically, we don't want to give anybody reasons to look at us a little bit differently, especially if we're in our 40s and 50s and 60s, because they want to get rid of that higher salary, even though the expertise is there, and look for somebody else to replace. So again, you've got a perfect place to be able to help those women in that situation. So if there's a woman that's out there listening or watching to this, and she's not sure if she's falling in that category, maybe some of those things are pinging in her head that, there's maybe I am missing a little bit about in my conversation. I am getting a little bit tired. So if they're losing that metabolic capacity, but their labs that they get still say that they're good, where does that person go? Like, what's their next step?
That part is so frustrating. I have talked to so many women who say, I went to the doctor, we did all these labs, and they say it's normal. It must be in my head. I need to rest more, or I need to do intermittent fasting, or any number of general wellness tips that were based on studies that were not done with women in this stage of life. And so that part is really scary because the medical system can't find anything wrong, but the woman knows she's not feeling like herself. And so where we always recommend people start is we have a simple 5-minute assessment online that people can take. It's free, it's quick, and it gives you results immediately. And what it looks at is metabolic drift. Where are you on that scale of how much your metabolism has changed? If it's just started changing, we compensate well. So our energy's a little low. Well, we'll compensate in some way and we'll mask it and hide it and figure that we'll just get over it and things will come back online for us soon. But it can go so far that we are on that edge of burnout. Maybe we've even developed prediabetes at this point because our metabolism has shifted so far. And so we give you that scale to help you know, where are you on this metabolic drift? And so that right there can be really validating to go, oh my gosh, my metabolism has shifted. I haven't even seen it through this window yet. And then we look at the 5 forces that we look at, these 5 systems that help us generate energy, manage our nervous system regulation, keep our cognition going, and help us update the inner narratives that maybe governed our success prior to this metabolic shift, and go, what do we believe in? What's holding us back? Why aren't we taking time to get the self-care time that we need? And so it also evaluates those 5 forces and shows you which one is most compromised right now. So it's a really good starting point. So that's something free that women can take that gives them a quantifiable understanding of why their performance is impacted and where they can start to make a change.
Yeah. I'll make sure that we share that link in the description so people can grab that and check it out for themselves, because that is, you feel something is wrong, something is wrong, but if you don't have a parameter to look against and say, I used to be this tall, now I'm this tall, that's an easy one. Yeah. But now when they're just not sure how to go about it, I think that it'd be very helpful. I'll actually even look into that myself just to see what it is. Yes, I don't fit your niche category, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Love it.
Yeah. I looked on your site and you had a statement there. It says, when your energy, focus, and confidence changes, it's not the motivation problem. I'd like you to, if you could explain maybe, a short little bit on those 5 strategies or those 5 ways that you're looking at on how you focus on that statement from your website.
Sure. We've already sort of touched on that quote that, women in this category are really hardworking because it's still not so easy to be a successful woman in a corporate setting in some cases. And so it's not that women are not hardworking. It's not that they're not dedicated. It's that because our metabolism has changed, we are struggling at a level that younger women or men don't struggle with. And so it's not your motivation. It is your metabolism. And when that's in alignment, when all 5 of those forces are functioning well, we have the energy, we have the clear thinking. We don't have to try harder. We just have to correct the problem. It's sort of like if you're driving your car and it starts to run rough, putting your foot on the gas pedal doesn't usually help. If your car's already running rough, it could really cause a blowout, or in our case, a burnout. And it can cause extra damage that then costs more money and time to fix. And so instead of pushing on the accelerator, what we want to do is fix what's causing the car to run rough in the first place. So I hope that metaphor is clear.
Yeah, I like that very much. So from a bragging standpoint for you, Stacy, what I'd like you to do is, what do you do better than anyone else for women, especially those that have come from the traditional health system and they're scared and they feel stuck? Like, what do you do better than other people that are out there in the marketplace?
would say that after 35 years in clinical practice, I know how to listen and I understand human physiology and mindfulness. I've studied from cultures all around the world about healing, and my husband and I are also scientists. And so I can listen and I can put it in an established framework that takes into consideration your whole being. So I'm not chasing symptoms. I'm not going to go, okay, we're going to increase your energy. I'm going to give you a supplement, and you'll feel more energized. Well, if that solution, and there are many people who provide those short-term symptom solutions, that can imbalance and draw on another one of your forces so that you end up worse than when you started. So we are not into quick fixes. We want to look at all of you and put protocols together in place that are uniquely yours and that match your lifestyle, your needs, your family, and what you have going on. So I think that our experience, our broad experience, we've worked with people on every continent except Antarctica, and studied all over the world, and have actually lived abroad for a lot of our adult lives. So I think that we can relate to people from a huge variety of backgrounds, see them as human beings, understand them, and be able to provide something that's valuable and based on experience that few people have.
Yeah. The experience sounds fantastic, and hopefully you'll get somebody from Antarctica at some point in time, but maybe not. We'll see where that change plays in. So, yeah, exactly. So who is, I'm not sure if it's an easy definition or a difficult one, but who is your ideal client?
Ideal client is a woman between 40 and 60 who has had a high responsibility life, whether that's work and family, just work. It doesn't really matter, but she has had a lot of responsibility and a fairly high level of stress. And she would be noticing at this point that it's a little harder, like she's running to stand still. It's just a little harder. Her energy's not quite there. Her cognition is a little different. And so she's compensating with more effort. She's not recovering after one weekend. She's waking up Monday going, oh God, is it Monday already? So it's that person who's worked really hard and is going, what the heck is happening to me? I used to be, just spot on and so ready for everything. And now I'm not so sure that I should raise my hand for that raise or that new project, because I'm not feeling totally confident that I can show up with what's needed to be successful in it. And so if she's thinking those kinds of thoughts, that's our woman.
If there is a woman out there thinking that, or somebody that's out there thinking that, please do reach out to Stacy, because that has to be a very hollow feeling. I don't know for sure, but that would be unfortunate when you are this level of an executive or a human on the planet, and there's been this little gap that's been placed in there, and you give them an assessment to find that. It's, it has to be difficult to experience it, and even making that phone call is difficult. So I guess this will lead into a question, Stacy. Doing this kind of work, there's a lot of trust that will go into it. So what would you say that somebody is maybe afraid to raise their hand and say, I think I'm falling in that category, but I'm not really sure. They take the assessment that you give them and they're just not sure. What can you tell them to, don't be afraid, take the next step?
If they have taken the assessment, they've also seen a video with me that helps them understand where they are. So it gives quantifiable information about the 5 forces and their metabolic drift. But there's also a video that says, hey, if you scored at this level, here's what's probably happening for you. So they will have that trust point. And they'll also receive a series of emails that will explain the results at their specific level. The emails don't go out to everybody. They go out to you at your level. So I'll be talking to you about that and helping you understand what that means. And if the way that I share and the things that I say relate to you, if you go, she knows this is what's going on for me, then it's really easy. All you have to do is hit reply. And I'm here and I will respond to your question and your email. You can also choose to take another step, which is to schedule a 1-hour review session with me, where I will go over all of your results, all 5 forces, your metabolism. I'll ask you some more questions because I want to verify that those results are accurately representing who you are, because it's a 25-question quiz. I know that I can't understand everything about you in just 25 questions. So I'll ask some more questions, and then I'll help you interpret them and understand what is going on and create a leading edge science-based protocol that you can start immediately that will address that force, that lever that I think will make the most difference in your physiology, your performance, and your life. So there are 2 ways: hit reply or schedule that 1-hour call, and we can just go through everything, and you'll have all that time to ask any questions that you want. And if we're a really great fit, then you can work with us for 3 months. But taking the quiz and hitting reply, that's free, and there's nothing to worry about in that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It takes a little bit of the fear away in going into that situation. So for what you're doing, it talks about maybe expectations of people, like what can they expect to, when they work with you for a 3-month program? When they start, to what can they get out of the program with you? What are the expectations?
Well, this part's exciting. There's so many ways that I could talk about this. What they will get in the end is they will have data, because my husband and I, we're scientists. We like to collect data, both subjective and objective data. And that's something that we'll do in the program every week. And we'll talk to you every other week for an hour. You'll have WhatsApp access 5 days a week during business hours so that you can ask questions. Maybe even you're at Whole Foods and you're going, which protein powder should I buy? I've had people ask me that question. So we really want to be there for you. So you'll feel like you have us there. You're going to have data, and we're going to help you interpret it, because our goal is always to educate, empower you, and make sure you have the skills and resources to take charge of your own health. So we don't want you to be dependent on us. We want to give you what you need to be in charge and stay in charge. And that said, when we go through the program, we're going to look at those 5 systems. And the first one is fire. It's how are you generating energy? Let's look at your mitochondria. Let's look at the systems that your body uses to generate and supply steady energy for you. We'll look at fuel, which is not just like what you eat. It's how are you digesting and utilizing the resources that are coming into your system. And a lot of women who contact us have already restricted their diet. At this stage and age, we often more easily gain fat, especially around the belly. And so they start restricting the food they're eating. They start exercising more. And sometimes that can be the right choice, but oftentimes it's not. So they may have nutrient gaps due to those restrictions. So we're looking at how are you fueling your body? And then we'll move into focus. And it won't always go in this order. It depends on you, your symptoms, and which system is most compromised. But another one we look at is focus. How is your cognition, which really is deeply related to how is your insulin performance? Because diabetic or not, and especially in women over 40, we become more insulin resistant, including our brains. And when our brains don't get enough glucose, fun fact, our brains are about 2% of our body weight. They use 20% of our energy. So if the brain is getting insulin resistant, just like most of us over 40 do, then it starts saying, hey, I need more energy. So I'm going to start cutting back and conserving energy for vital functions that I need. And that's very often the brain fog or the decision fatigue that women experience at this age. So it is physiological, not about effort. Then we'll also look at flow. We'll look at nervous system regulation. How quickly do you downregulate into parasympathetic dominance? You get out of the stress pattern so that your body can rest, digest, and renew overnight. This is for the people who they go on a big trip, or they have a business event, or they're presenting for a week at a corporate retreat, and they just don't recover. I went through this last fall. I had a really stressful time. We were heading to Europe for 10 days and my father died on our way there. And like, there was so much going on and I was feeling tired there, but I had to be on. We were meeting people and there was a lot going on. We came home and I did not recover in a day or 2 or 3. It really took about a week to feel like myself again. And so I plugged myself in to go, where can I adjust this? What can I do to support my rest, recovery, and renewal? So this is something that I live too, because I have danced on that edge of burnout because I'm a very driven type A kind of person. And I like that, but it can be too much. But the last force that we look at is, we call it freedom. And these are the inner narratives, the belief, the stories that we tell ourselves. A lot of women, when they start reaching 45, 50, they start looking back and questioning life. Are my values really aligned? Am I where I want to be to go for the next 50 years? And sometimes we find that we're held back by wanting to be a good girl, not wanting to rock the boat, self-sacrificing instead of self-care. And we look at what are these beliefs, because everything that we do in those other forces, if our beliefs are not aligned, if our inner narrative is not supportive, we either won't follow through with our actions or we will self-sabotage and we just will not be able to have sustainable benefits. And so that part is something that very few programs look at, is how is what we think and believe about ourselves and life impacting our performance and our physiology.
Yeah. The 5 F's sound fantastic. Can you give us a success story of somebody that's gone through those 5 F's for them, where they started and how they finished?
I'm so glad that you asked that. We have an amazing woman who worked with us, and she came to us. She was exhausted, mentally foggy, easily overwhelmed. She described herself as, I feel like I have ADHD. I just can't stay focused and get things done. And then I'm tired. And she was really frustrated that her body was not responding to the effort she was putting in. She was still doing the same things, but her body was just responding differently. And she had gained about 30 pounds. Her blood sugar had drifted into the pre-diabetes range. And despite her doing a lot of research and trying to, quote unquote, eat healthy, she just wasn't seeing meaningful progress. And her doctor had put her on a diabetes medication to bring her blood sugar down. And she desperately wanted to be off of her medication. And what made it harder, that she was doing all of the things that high achieving women do when their results stall. She was trying harder. And so more effort, more self-pressure, and more guilt because it just wasn't working. And when we looked at her through our 5 forces framework, 2 areas stood out immediately. One is she scored really low in the category of fire, meaning that her stress load and inflammatory burden were high enough to interfere with her energy generation. So even if she was resting well, eating well, managing her stress, she was not feeling energetic. And we also looked and found that freedom was quite low. And she, in her case, was carrying deep beliefs that resting was selfish and keeping everyone else comfortable around her was her job. So she diminished her light and enthusiasm to keep others comfortable. And so even when she was tired, she was trying to override her signals. And this is where so many women get stuck, trying to treat symptoms but not the system. And we started with the right lever first. We started restoring her energy stability to reduce that physiological stress. It improved her blood sugar regulation because I won't go into this, but I have done a lot of work in helping people reverse their diabetes. And mitochondria, which generate energy for our body, there are power plants in our cells, in all the cells except red blood cells. They also help govern what comes into and out of the cells. So if we are insulin resistant, we're not getting sugar out of the bloodstream and into our cells. So when we started focusing on rebuilding and strengthening the mitochondria, she became less insulin resistant and her blood sugar dropped. Within 2 months, her doctor took her off of her metformin and her blood sugar has been in the normal range ever since. So her thinking was clear. She was hiking up hills and feeling enthusiastic. Her blood sugar was normal. Oh, and in 6 months, she had lost those 30 pounds without calorie restriction, without worrying about portions, and was feeling really great in her body again. So we work with people online, but when we're in the US, we do some traveling around to see family, and we got to meet her last summer. She drove a couple hours, we drove a couple hours, and we got to have tea with her. It was wonderful.
Fantastic. Sounds like an amazing story. And, that journey that people take, the best part about that, which some people, you hear an amazing story like that, it's the backstory. I'm sure how it helped herself personally, physically, mentally, helped her at work, maybe helped her with her family, made it easier on the family as well. It's always great to have a reward yourself, but when it trickles down and affects the other people around you, that's got to be fantastic.
Yeah. Her husband and daughter said they love the food. We also have, well over 100 recipes that Marcus and I have created together that we use as food as medicine. And it brought her whole family on board. It was a bringing together instead of what is often I'm separate, I'm different, I need fixing, and I can't eat and do what you do. We try to bring it together because family is important. And bringing your wellness together with your family instead of isolating is really important to us.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Family time is important time. We don't always have it forever, so take advantage of it when you can. From a business perspective, Stacy, where do you see, executive metabolism going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, that's a great question. And when we started Executive Metabolism, we did start looking 5 years out. So I appreciate this. We're building a category that changes how organizations support women in midlife leadership. And I mean structurally, not just aspirationally. One statistic that should alarm every HR director who might be listening is research from the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. They found that nearly a third of women who experience menopausal symptoms like we've discussed, energy and cognition at work, say that it's had a negative impact on their ability to work. And the menopause-related productivity loss cost U.S. employers about $1.8 billion annually in lost work time alone. And the part that really fired us up the most is that more than 20% of women consider quitting their jobs because their performance has dropped and they don't know how to fix it. And that loss of confidence and hopelessness is what really drives us emotionally and has us deeply convicted to our work. So we would like to expand more into the corporate level so that we can work with people more than just one-on-one. One-on-one is wonderful, but we only can work with 3 or 4 people per month to bring on because it takes time. And we want to provide that time. But working at a corporate level, we're going to be able to reach more people and hopefully change the conversations that are happening at work. Hopefully be that voice and that bridge for women who are suffering in silence and considering leaving their job or not raising their hand for that project or promotion. We can be the voice that bridges the fears that they keep to themselves and bring it out in the open and give them some solutions so that they can be more successful in that workplace. So we want Executive Metabolism to be the firm that corporate leadership teams call when they want to retain and support their senior women through midlife.
Okay. Yeah, it's much smarter for corporations and any business, whatever it is, to keep the current employees that you have, keep them happy, keep them healthy, because they already know what to do. You don't have to retrain them. You don't have to train someone up. And why not take somebody with all the knowledge that spent the time there with you and get them in a better health status, which will only make them work better, secondarily make the company work better. So excellent choice of looking at that executive aspect. Absolutely. So you've been an amazing guest. Just a few more questions, if I could. Take your time, Stacy. Yeah, but if somebody wants to learn more, again, as I said, I'll share all of your links, but where would you like them to be directed to learn more about you and your executive metabolism?
They can go straight to executivemetabolism.com. Okay. And from that page, there are buttons. They can take that metabolic capacity assessment. It's 5 minutes. It's free. The results are immediate. And so that's what, if anyone who's listening who wonders, is my metabolism impacting my life? Like, maybe that's what's going on. If you have any question, or like Derek, you're not our target market, but you're curious, go take the assessment. It's there for you, and it's at executivemetabolism.com.
Okay. Again, I'll make sure that we get that out on all of the descriptions that we do here with the videos that we share out, and as well as in the podcast section. So you've been in health, the arena for a long time. I won't say how long it's been, but it's been a long time, which is great. You're very knowledgeable in that. If you could give us one piece of advice that would affect our health in a positive way, what would that advice be?
My advice is to stop trying harder before you know what's actually limiting you. The women that I work with, they're busy. They don't have time to be their own lab rats. So this is where smart people who are capable lose years. They think, well, I'll figure it out. I'm smart. Yes, you are. But is this what you want to be spending your time and energy on, is trying to figure this out? Trying generic wellness tips. So many things like intermittent fasting. It's great. But once we start shifting our metabolism and our hormones, we have to do it differently. What works for the people in the studies, the 28-year-old, coach at the gym, or the man who's saying, just do this, you'll be fine. We are not men. We are not in our reproductive prime, and we're not 80 either. We're in this in-between zone. And unless we know what's actually limiting us, we can spend years chasing generic wellness tips that were never made for us in our stage of life, with the challenges that we specifically are facing. And so go ahead.
Okay, I love that, because you are telling people that health is important, but the way you live your health, the lifespan, is so much more important. Why not take the time now to learn, to improve, to enjoy the years to come?
Absolutely. Our North Star is always that health span. So we're never going to cut corners. We're never going to, load anybody up with supplements. We're going to look at the systems level. And our goal is that health span, that life work balance that helps you feel like your life has meaning and worth, and you are really living it, not burning the candle at both ends when you could be supporting the system that just helps you blaze beautifully without burning you out. So stop guessing, start measuring, get objective data, look at, track your energy level through the day, morning, after lunch, and evening, and look at how steady that is. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10, check 3 times a day. Notice patterns. Notice what you're eating. How does it make you feel? Just bringing some mindfulness and collecting that subjective and objective data can help you identify what is going on so that you can address the levers that matter, not chase generic wellness tips that were not made for you.
Yeah, love it. Last question, if I could, Stacy. You've been an amazing guest here on the Prime Health Podcast. We ask everybody this definition. It's unique for everybody. What would your definition of prime health be?
Prime health, I'll start out by saying what it's not. It's not the absence of symptoms. Prime health is the full, reliable presence of someone's capacity. You have the ability to live and express yourself in the ways that are most meaningful to you without being limited, especially limited by your metabolism for our audience. So it looks like waking up with energy that you can count on, being able to make decisions, stay on point throughout the entire day, not just the morning. It's recovering quickly. It's having time and energy and vitality and enthusiasm to play with your kids on the weekend, to go on a hike, to go on a vacation and return not feeling like you are buried by your to-do list of all the things you didn't do while you were traveling, and you start out on your heels after you've been on a vacation. So it's metabolic sovereignty, the experience of being in command of your own biological performance rather than managed by its decline.
That's a great one. I can't wait to hear and listen to that one again myself and take that in. It's very critical. As we age, of course, decline happens, but if you can halt it, slow it down, work with it along the way by understanding how your metabolism works, and you take the assessment to find that out, I think that's great. So thank you for sharing that. And Stacy, your stories of how you've helped your patients, how you kind of helped yourself through the situation. I'm sorry about the passing of your father when you experienced that, but we tend to do good for others when we have to go through those trials and tribulations ourselves. So when somebody has that, you've talked to them about how they can build trust and work with you because you want to see them succeed and to see better. So I always say to the listeners, the viewers that are doing this, if what Stacy had to say, if you can take one thing away, I know you can take more, but if you can take one thing away, please do share with a friend or a family member. Every little person, every little touch point that we get can make it a better world that's out there. And I think that's what Stacy and your husband want to do with Executive Metabolism. From my perspective, please share the podcast. We'd love to get more guests, like Stacy, on that helps us understand how to live a better prime health along the way. But as I always say, until next time, remember, your life is a true wellness journey that we are all on together. So whether you're taking charge of your own health or guiding others in theirs, every step forward matters. So please do stay committed to your prime health journey. And again, Stacy, thank you very much for being an amazing guest on the Prime Health Podcast.
Thank you, Derek.